I don't know if I can explain it, but Okamura-san was talking in one of those radio programs, I believe, must be 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I don't know how long time ago, but was talking about Daisetz. And the beginning part is Daisetz meeting Erich Fromm. And that process is kind of interesting if I can go quickly on that. Erich Fromm came to Daisetz after reading The Zen and Art of Archery, Herigoro, who is the one who went to Japan as philosopher and learned Japanese archery. And the story is such that there's a thin book called The Zen and Art of Archery. So that's what Erich Fromm read. One of the highlights of the book is when he is targeting to shoot the arrow at the target. The master said, don't do that, as if not to aim. And that we can hear Heracles struggle. I'm here to shoot the target, and the master is saying, don't do that, basically. Let the ego to die. Let the archery, the bow and arrow to do its job. And for that you have to let go of yourself. That's basically is the point. And reading this book, I think Erich Fromm made some comment, endorsement of the book or something. Still come to Daisetz and pointing the story, but mainly focused on the fact that why this religion is using the military, the tool of the military, to kill someone, be a part of that exercise. Swordmanship, archery. And Daisetz said, when you say that, who are you? Because Erich Fromm was so upset about the situation. Why do you do this Buddhism, or whatever you call, using archery or swordmanship tool to kill someone? And Daisetz only said that, who are you? So Erich Fromm spent 2 weeks without sleeping, what Daisetz meant. And Okamura-san was with Daisetz. I think this may have been in Mexico or in New York, I don't know. 2 weeks later he came, called, and Okamura-san picked up the phone, and Erich Fromm said, I thought a lot and I now want to meet Daisetz. Please arrange it. So Okamura-san mentioned that to Daisetz and they met, and she was not in the scene of their encounter. But when it's done, Daisetz mentioned that it was amazing what Erich Fromm had gone through the last 2 weeks. And he pointed that Erich Fromm may have understood the essence of Zen, Buddhism, the spirituality, and knowing who you are is most important. So that's part of this YouTube video, which I have it translated, the transcript from Japanese to English by Gemini, and you can take a look, because it's worth translating and sharing. That's what I thought. It may not be simple, but that story was the beginning part of this video. And from there, Okamura-san was explaining, because she spent 15 years or more with Daisetz until Daisetz passed away. So she could understand what went through with Daisetz, with Fromm, and herself, to be able to explain, and that's what this program on YouTube was. And she was saying that to get to the state, you have to basically kill yourself. Ego has to die. And that's the true self to come out. Not the word true self as some concept, but experientially getting what it means. And that's probably what Daisetz detected that Erich Fromm had gone through, because they had a good conversation. And from that story, to move on, maybe I just say a few words, part of the essence of this YouTube video. It's, I think, maybe 40 minutes long or something, but Okamura-san was pointing that the way we use our mind or brain has to get to the root. Well, that's what I say. And what she mentioned is pretty much the same, but her words are different. And I wish I can use her word in English. But that's the transformation. It's about freedom. I like the word liberation from the mind, seen as the essence of what we do, how we think, how we make a decision. But you have to have the brain or the mind rooted to know the true self. And from that, wisdom and compassion would come. My word, it's not her word, and I wish you open up that description of this video and click the Google Doc where the translation was made, if you're interested. So if that realization doesn't happen, all you do in your mind is basically fake, because it's ego as the center. And that is the bias of the ego, like shooting the center of the target. But by going through the exercise like meditation, or in this case shooting, gradually you learn how to let go of your ego, of shooting. But it happens, and when it happens, I used to do the archery, so I kind of remember that, is the moment of release, is there's no mind movement. It just happens. And to get there, before that, you aim and moving, and you want to shoot. Oh, I'm ready. Yeah, boop. And that's the beginning part. But when you become more stable and the mind calm, actually I was pretty good at it, archery. But that's a different story. But the point again is not you shooting. The universe is shooting, if such explanation makes sense. It's coming from the deep inside of you that And I mentioned in the other video about the runner's high. I don't know the title, but I think if you check runner's high, you may find I posted perhaps a week ago or so, and a talk with someone at the Backers Inn. It's a runner, and he was explaining the runner's high and trying to share with me, and I could see it's also a shift of consciousness, and you are not anymore trying to run, thinking this and that, but the mind becomes calm, quiet, and you get into the zone, and you're just moving, almost floating for a long time. That's the case of runner's high. But at archery, this is another case. And Okamura-san was talking in the period of probably 12 centuries or 13 centuries, I don't know the exact timing, Muromachi period was when there was those tea ceremony, flower ceremony, those things popped up, and swordsmanship, archery, connecting to the same. And if I just digress a little bit, there was a war between the two shoguns, the mini shoguns. But the one shogun didn't have enough sword, and the opponent gave sword for this other shogun. There's some such story. And maybe that's not to be combined with this story, but it's beyond shooting or killing. There's a state, even you and the opponent, you and the target, is in the relationship. That relationship changes from one to shoot the other or kill the other, but become one with the way of the universe, so to speak. There's no ego. So this can be misinterpreted to any discussion, and perhaps a tricky point, but what I want to say is that, like the case of runner's high, devoting yourself and you become one with the object, there's no you, it's just a process. Then there's a state, liberated, be one, and you're connecting to the root, and everything happened. And I believe Picasso, or what's his name, Slater, the surfer, who does all the maneuvers, after so much training, things start to fall in place without you thinking. So that barrier of the mind to the connecting to the heart or the root of who you are is the essence. And without that, and what Okamura-san says is that if we just use the brain and the mind, do this, do that, desire this, desire that, it's limiting. Not connecting to the root, where she says if it's natural to have different opinions, but instead of fighting, you can agree that the root is the same and we don't have to fight, or something like that. So it's a paradoxical thing, can have a resonance, root, connection. Everybody has a heart, the nature's way, brought us, and even we are all different and different opinion, we can still accept and agree at the foundation, at the core level, to agree not to fight but find the solution with wisdom and compassion. And without that, the world we're living in is going more of the brain, this, that, ego. And that creates lots of, Okamura says, sin, troubles for the humanity going this way. So, I don't know how many people watch this video, how many people would open up this translation into English for what happened in this YouTube video. But hopefully, or you may read that book, Zen and Art of Archery, interesting book, to look into ourselves, how we live, what the basis, and find the connection to your heart. And without that, our world may get into more trouble. Ego versus another ego, no ending, without wisdom and compassion. She passed away a few years ago, 2023. I had a good time with her. Maybe I'll put my picture with her in the description that you can watch. She also passed away. Daisetz passed away. I will be passing away, but I wish I can do something, or beyond me, to communicate this message for us to be able to communicate at the root level and live well, or go step in that direction, one step, another step. Let's do that. Thank you.